Ahmed Dent. I am the Director of Venue Experience and Artistic Associate here at San Diego Repertory Theater, and I would like to welcome you to We Are Listening. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you have, if you're on Zoom, please make sure that you have your camera off and your microphone muted. If you're watching either on Zoom or Facebook and you have questions or comments, please put them in the chat on either platform and we will make sure that we get to them. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that the theater spaces and offices of the San Diego Repertory Theater are built on the traditional lands of the Ipai, Tipai, Kumeyaay Nation. We also want to recognize their neighbors in the region, the Payo Kalichum, the Kahulia, and the Capino peoples. We are grateful to these community members for their tremendous contributions to our region and thank them for their continuous stewardship. San Diego Rep honors Indigenous peoples past, present, and future here and around the world. And we wish to pay respect to local elders, including those of the lands from which you may be joining us today. Again, welcome to We Are Listening. My name is Ahmed Dents, Director of Venue Experience and Artistic Associate here at San Diego Rep. And as I get my camera fixed with all this technical stuff so you can actually see my face, I would like to also welcome to the stage my co-host, Director of Arts Engagement and In-House Casting at La Jolla Playhouse, Jacole Kitchen. What's up, Jacole?
Hey, these titles are a mouthful, aren't they? Jeez Louise. When you start adding the slash and hyphen and all the things, when you start actually naming all the hats you wear, the titles get long.
Jacole, thank you for being here tonight and joining us. I know you was going through some technical stuff, but we make it happen, right?
We're making it happen. We're doing it. We're doing it.
So everybody who is listening, whether in the present or in the future, we have a spectacular guest once again tonight. Can't wait to get into that conversation. But as always, first, we want to get into some announcements. Again, please make sure you have your camera off and your microphone muted. Any questions or comments, throw them in the chat, whether you're listening or whether you're watching on Facebook or on Zoom. If you are listening to this in the future and you're watching it on YouTube, you're watching it on the Facebook page, or you're listening to podcasts and you still got questions, go ahead and send me an email at adents@sdrep.org and I will do my best to find an answer for you. But right now, I'm going to turn things over to Jacole. Jacole, let me know and tell the people what's going on around your way in the Playhouse world.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to actually make these announcements because everything that I have to discuss is live theater or theater-like. We are live and in person, y'all. No more. I mean, yes, digital wow continues. Please still go to our lajollaplayhouse.org and check out all of the digital wow offerings. But we have things going on live and in person. The first thing is 1,000 Ways. I know that Ahmed always likes to start with the pop tour because that is now available for live free stream, not live, but for free streaming for families and for families and schools. 1,000 Ways is what's going on right now, y'all. This is a one-on-one experience, a chance to connect with a stranger in a dark rehearsal room with only a piece of plexiglass between you, and the amazing ways that you can connect with a person just by reading words on a card. It runs through, I want to say June 21st. Please make your appointments. There are still a few spots available. Even if you didn't do 1,000 Ways Part 1, which was the phone call, 1,000 Ways Part 2, an encounter, is still an extremely moving and enjoyable experience. So please check that out. And then future offerings. Don't worry about trying to scroll with us, Ahmed, because I'm just going to condense it all down into a little bit. But DNA, our new work series, is coming back. We were not able to do it in DNA because of COVID, but our DNA new work series is back. We have 4 amazing plays that are going to be coming to you live and in person safely. 4 different readings that are going on over the 2 weekends, the last 2 weeks in July. So excited. The DNA is coming back. And then the season starts in September. Coming back, starting out with The Garden by Charlene Wooder, directed by our very own San Diego's very own Patricia McGregor. Next is The Yellow House by Kimberly, directed by I am going to be in so much trouble right now. His name's Neil. He's the artistic director. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be in so much trouble for this. I had technical difficulties earlier, y'all. My brain isn't working. But then we're ending the season with Banging It, an amazing, high-powered Bhangra musical. Come see us. Lots live. Neil Keller, everybody knows that. His name is Neil Keller, that is directing to the Yellow House. Please go to lajollaplayhouse.org. Lots going on. Back to you, Ahmed.
This ain't easy, y'all. We try to make it happen. It ain't easy sometimes. Got a lot of stuff going on. Before I tell you what's going on at the here at the Rep, let me head on over to our other partner here, San Diego. We Are Listening is produced by San Diego Repertory Theater in partnership with the Old Globe and La Jolla Playhouse. And if you head on over to the oldglobe.org, they have a lot of stuff going on. You can still catch Hamlet on the radio. Its next airing is Friday, June 18th. I believe that is on, how about I don't believe, how about I just click on the link real quick and see. That is on KPBS 89.5. So again, the next airing is on June 18th. Also, make sure you check out their Cocktails with the Cannon. They got a lot of other stuff going on, and what it's going to segue is their Juneteenth celebration on June 19th. That is part of Say It Loud. Say It Loud is the San Diego Black Artists Collective presents Say It Loud Juneteenth Festival beginning this Sunday, June 13th through the 19th. This is going to be a really, really spectacular Juneteenth festival. It is going to be something really big this year for the arts community. The San Diego Black Artists Collective is putting this on in partnership with New Village Arts, La Jolla Playhouse, Moxie Theater, Diversionary Theater, us here at San Diego Repertory Theater, the Old Globe opening night ceremony on Sunday the 13th. There is the Mango Tree, and we dance. Get on board. The Black Artists Collective is taking over We Are Listening. They will be doing a couple of We Are Listening sessions as part of the festival. And there is the Summer Axis of Juneteenth celebration by the Old Globe. And then coming up this Monday, part of the festival is the Stay and Play Book Club. It'll be hosted by myself and Ramal J. Wallace. And the book that we have asked people to read is James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time. So we will be having a discussion about that. You can register and be a part of that discussion. Just head on over to sdrep.org, or better yet, head on over to sdblackartistcollective.com/say loud and check out all these spectacular events that are happening as part of the Juneteenth Festival that kicks off on the 13th. Also want to talk to you about here at the Rep, The Catastrophist, streaming right now through July 11th by Lauren Gunderson, based on the life and work of Dr. Nathan Wolf. Please make sure you check that out. And I also don't want to forget about the San Diego 27th annual, or 28th annual, I should say, Jewish Arts Festival that is happening right here, right now at San Diego Repertory Theater. Please make sure you head on over and check out the remaining performances. Remaining performances are on June 17th. Elon Gold, Do I Do Mean to Complain? Soul Farm performs the music of the Grateful Dead on Wednesday, June 23rd, and In Every Generation on Sunday, July 25th. So you can head on over to sdrep.org to get all that information. SD San Diego SD Black Artists Collective to get a bar of the Juneteenth celebration, and then make sure you head on over to lajollaplayhouse.org and the oldglobe.org and check out everything we've got going on. Damn, is that enough announcements?
It's a lot, but we're coming back, y'all. It's because we're coming back.
We are coming back. So let me stop sharing the screen and let's get down to business now. We have a spectacular guest that is joining us tonight. Really have been looking forward to this conversation. I really love doing this. We've been having some great guests on, great conversations, and that continued tonight with what I am going to say. This is an understatement. He is a giant in this industry, has been for a while. He is a director, a writer, an educator, and he is one of the co-founders of Crossroads Theater. Please welcome to We Are Listening, Mr. Ricardo Khan. Come on in,
man.
Ricardo.
Hey, brother man.
Hey,
how are you? How are you both doing tonight?
We're good.
Yeah.
Tell us Thursday.
I'm happy to be.
Is that what glossed over? It's Thursday.
Seriously, it's Thursday already. All right. Okay, good. Listen, man, I just wanted to say that those announcements actually are pretty cool. And one of the Juneteenth things, the Buffalo Soldiers are a part of that, right?
Yes. Opening ceremony.
I saw that. Yeah, man. Yeah, and people don't know about the Buffalo Soldiers, but there's so many chapters in our history as Black people that are beautiful moments, and we don't always say that. But I just wanted to put that out there to
That's
say
right.
this is great. Yeah, man. Yeah,
See,
yeah.
that's why Ricardo is here with us tonight. This is what we talking about.
Yeah, because it's Thursday. I'm here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Sister Jacole, it's nice to see you too. Absolutely.
Good to see you, sir. So glad to have you
yeah.
join us.
I'm
Well,
here.
Ricardo,
I'm
thank
here.
you.
I'm glad.
Thank you so much for joining us
Yeah.
tonight. I know
Yeah.
we have a great conversation ahead of us. A lot of stuff we want to ask you about. But as always, here and We Are Listening, we have our tradition. Like I always say, anybody can, read a bio or give an announcement. But we really like for our guests to personally talk to our audience and tell us a little bit about themselves and give us a little bit, as much as you would like, of the rundown of how you got into this performing arts world and how we got to where we are today.
Lord have mercy, man. This is the short story. My mother and my father, all right, and their parents and all of my ancestors. I feel like all of them got me to where I am now. And my mother always used to say, we just lost her a few months ago, but she used to say that I got my music and my love for music from when my mother and father would date in Washington, D.C., because they both went to Howard University, and they would go to the grounds on the river on the Potomac and listen to the symphony. And I said, okay, all right. And this is while you were pregnant? And she said, yeah. I said, okay. And then I think back on my Uncle Sonny, who was the first Black entertainment agent in Philadelphia, right? And he would tell me the stories about how Philadelphia, long before anybody else was the center, Philadelphia was the center of Black music. And he was there then, right? And then I also think about my father's side, my father came from Trinidad, and they were all into business, but they were all about doing it themselves, doing their own thing, and establishing their own destiny. So I think what I tried to do was combine that sense of not wanting to rely on anybody else to do my stuff and the love that I got from my mother for the arts and culture, and specifically the African American history. But even more importantly, later on in my life, how we connect as African Americans, not just to the next block we're in or the next city we're in, but this whole world, because we're a world people. Our roots are global. And so my journey artistically has always been about that. So that's where I am now. I'm at Crossroads Theater Company. We started in 1978 because when I came out of school, Mason Grove School of the Arts, I got my MFA, and my friend Lee Richardson, he also came out at the same time. Avery Brooks was in that time at Mason Gross, and Cheryl Lee Ralph, and we were all coming out at the time when folks like Ntozake Shange were doing their thing in New York, and Woody King and Barbara Ann Teer and Douglas Turner Ward of the Negro Ensemble Company, and out there was Gordon Davidson, and here was Joe Papp and Luis Valdez, right? Luis Valdez and San Juan Batista, and everybody was doing the work that was about revolution. It was about trying to change the world, right? And I Lee and I thought, well, okay, we're out there. We're going to try to create our own thing. We're going to go out there. We're trained actors. We're trained directors, and you know what, Ahmed? All we got was offers to do roles that were stereotyped and negative. We thought, well, yeah, but there's so much more. So Crossroads was created to prove to the world that there's so much more about who we are, and that it's not just about Black history and Black identity for Black people, but to let everybody know that. So the name Crossroads is about everybody coming together. people from all different backgrounds coming together to understand and appreciate a better sense of who the Black persona, the person is, and who we're all about, and most importantly, what our dreams will take us to in the future. So I was there for a while, you know, came back this past year. Only recently am I now artistic director again, after spending time living in different places, and I'm happy to be back. And we're doing this great stuff. We're in a whole new building now, so while it doesn't say Crossroads out in front because it's a performing arts center, we still have to create our sense of identity. So rather than doing a show every month or every other month, what I'm doing is combining those shows and doing them all simultaneously and taking over the center, so that 1 month every fall and 1 month every spring, if you come to Crossroads, you're going to get to see all of the shows we're doing in that particular time of year, in one theater, in another, upstairs, in the rehearsal halls, in the lounge, in the lobby. We'll have a bookstore. It's just all about us, and it's our identity that matters. Yeah, and so we're ending the year with a play we've been waiting to do for a long time about the Freedom Riders. And man, when we tried to do it, John Lewis was planning to come to see it. So that was before COVID, right? But you know, it was 60 years ago, a year ago, or now. But when we do it, it'll still be so important, because it's about all those folks you see there. Those are young people.
Right.
These are young folks who knew their power. And if anything, I don't want to just tell history. I want to tell young people that they got the power today too. And that's why I'm there. And that's what's happening.
Ricardo, how long were you away, and what pulled you back?
Wow. You know, I didn't know you were going to ask me that.
I didn't either.
You know what? I left when I thought it was a good time to leave. First of all, I was exhausted, and I just wanted to know what would it be like for somebody else younger, perhaps not even from this country, to run this theater. And I left this country, and I lived in Trinidad for a while, and then South Africa. And the reason was because I honestly was exhausted by our race language in America and in our plays. The plays in Black theater always seem to be about how we're victims. And therefore, our white brothers and sisters are always cast as the victimizers. But I know there's a different way. And I know the rest of the world looks at it differently too. So I wanted to go outside to get a better perspective and come back with a different language. So when I left, God, it's been 10 years of writing. I spent time writing. I wrote a play about the Tuskegee Airmen of World War II called Fly, which we did in Pasadena, and we got the NAACP award in LA for that. I did a piece about Satchel Paige, called the Satchel Paige and the Kansas City Swing, and both of those were done with a friend of mine, Trey Ellis, and then Freedom Rider, and we did the sequel too, which we'll do in a year or so. But it was about writing, and it was about creating, and about opening my eyes and my mind to all of those things I never had a chance to do while I was running a company. And now I'm back. Yes, thank you for reminding me, Nicole, Jercole. But I'm back at a really great time because we're just coming off of all of this streaming, and I'll tell you, I can't wait to get back live. But I don't want to lose what we discovered right online, the ability to connect with people all over the world. So this past year has been about that. and now officially back as artistic director. I'm looking forward to what's our 43rd season.
Wow.
I know.
What were some of the challenges for you in that? This is as we get ready to open back up and everybody's grappling with what the balance is going to be of going back to live. But like you just said, not losing what we did pick up, in this virtual space. What were the challenges for you in when we got into the pandemic specifically and switching from that live programming to having it now? What at that time became an uncertain future to how long we would have to deal with primarily virtual program.
I don't know, brother. Are we there yet? Have we shifted yet?
We haven't officially shifted yet.
Right.
Shifting.
We're shifting. We're shifting. We're shifting. I think the biggest challenge is in the theater community ourselves, our sense of what theater is, what that format has to be. When I grew up, so I mentioned Joe Papp, and I mentioned Douglas Turner Ward and Woody King and Barbara Antier, and these are folks you learn about when you're training, right? And so you come out thinking, okay, that's what you're supposed to be. You both come from Lord theaters, but young people who grow up or are trained thinking that is their goal, to be Lord, to be quote unquote standard, learn stuff that may be right or may not be right because they don't yet know who they are. Our biggest challenge, Ahmed, in answer to your question, I feel is ourselves, because we too often box ourselves into this this construct that's based on what we think we're supposed to be, this standard that is set as if anything we do differently is substandard. That's not right. So I think that as we work our way through COVID, the best thing we can do is say, none of us have been here before. None of us. So let's be open to it. Let's figure out. Let's be open to the messages of the universe. Let's ask ourselves why we got here in the first damn place.
I think that's a lot of what's going on, even as we are trying to move forward, because, especially in light of COVID and of course, this round of racial reckoning that we went through, there's been, a lot of looking at how do we deal with both of those at the same time. So much has come out. So much has come out just in the workplace, amongst ourselves, amongst those who, amongst leadership and dealing with staff and, boards and donors, and so many things have come out in so many different ways as we do get ready to try to open back up and do live theater. I think people are understanding that, a lot of those statements and declarations and things of high hopes that were made, people are now really starting to realize how much the work that took, and how much of it cannot just be words. Like, this is really work that if you're really trying to change something, that is going to have to come out of a cultural curiosity of and I think we're seeing a clash of that in organizations as we get ready to open back up, as some people are thinking they done did the work. And the people who are going like, oh, you thought that was the work? you thought that was it? You thought that we were just going to get through to this summer and open back up and kumbaya, and here we go, we tap dancing again, and that we're just finding out that's not the case. There's a reckoning going on. There's a real soul searching going on in American theater right
now. Well, there was a reckoning in the 60s too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was just about to say, is that it's evolving. You can't just say, yep, all right, did that, and now you're good, because the world continues to evolve, the struggles continue to evolve, the microaggressions continue to evolve. And so and we have to adapt. We have to continue to adapt. And so that's one of my questions, especially for Crossroads having been founded in 1978, and again, you talked about why you felt the need to create this theater, where the need was at that time, and how do you feel like the mission of the theater or the theater itself has continued to change or evolve or adapt over the last 40, 20, 10 years, over the last year even?
Well, you know, I think the first time the world heard about Crossroads was the first time the world heard about George C. Wolfe, for example, right? The Color Museum he did first at Crossroads, and then after that was Spunk, and then on and on. At Crossroads was where George met Anna Deavere Smith. Crossroads was where young folks coming out of Howard University met Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis. Young women coming out of literary departments all over. It was the first time they met Ntozake Shange. There was a time when there wasn't anything like Crossroads anywhere else. Okay. So Crossroads wasn't an oasis, it was an oasis. And as a result of that, and the civil rights movement and all other kinds of movements, artists of color started to get opportunities elsewhere. Okay? It didn't make our lives easier. The Negro Ensemble Company, no one knew a Denzel Washington before Woody King's New Federal Theater or New Charles Fuller or folks like that. Before the Negro Ensemble Company. These were times when we had no choice. We had to cling together, right? Now, if I go back to the 40s, before 1945 and before the times of integration, whether it was, the Negro Leagues baseball or whatever, you will find a very, very strong community of Black people hanging together because we had no choice, right? Kansas City, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, rich places, very rich. And now here we are talking recently about Tulsa, right? And Black Wall Street. These were our people saying, okay, it doesn't matter. We could do this. We could do this together and we could hang in there together, right? We're living in a whole different world now where there's opportunity everywhere. And we have to accept that as a beautiful thing, not a deterrent. But at the same time, we also have to understand and accept ourselves as beautiful people, our culture is beautiful, and we can count on each other. Sister Jacole, what I'm saying is that it seems to me as if our role now is about more than ever creating the kinds of oases, cultural oases that allow for a safe place for our people to work, a safe place for our artists and our managers and our administrators and our board members, and a safe place where we don't have to kowtow to anything else. We could do our thing. We could do it ourselves. So when people say, well, what can we do? People, in major theater companies, in mainstream America saying, what can we do to help you? What we have to say is, well, you coming to us is not about helping us. It's about helping you. All right. So realize that first. We are whole already. We are whole already. Now, how you want to work together? What do you want to do? And how can I help you?
Yes.
I love
That's
that.
what today is.
I love that sentiment because that's what we've been saying here lately, right? Especially, and I love it in couple with the history that you're bringing, because that's what I've been trying to get across to a lot of the younger artists, is to understand, like, like you were saying, going back to what was happening in the 40s and what was happening with, the House of Un-American Activities and the people they were blacklisting, and how Black plays and Black artists just got shoved to the back, and so many Black plays and Black arts just disappeared. And what we've been saying here lately, Jacole, is like, hey, keep in mind, you're not the other, you're the standard. You just haven't been told. That truth has just been shoved down. Stop thinking of yourself as the other. Just think of yourself as the standard. We just have to remind everybody of that. That's why I love that you just brought forward.
Well, one of the things, one of the true blessings in my life has been to be able to work with Ruby Dee and Ossie Davis, because Ruby Dee was an associate artist at Crossroads. She was in residence for a number of years and created stuff. But it was then when I started to learn about the role that she and Ossie played in the House Un-American Activities, activities and assaults, and they said no, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to name. And they were Black. They could have lost everything.
Yeah.
And they lost a lot. And yet they gained everything because they maintained their own soul. And I just feel like I wish we had more Ruby Dees and Ossie Davises to tell young people, you can survive. You can survive, and your soul will thrive if you just hold on to everything your ancestors fought for you to be able to be. They didn't fight for you to give everything up for the sake of a paycheck. My thing is, as a Black theater company like Crossroads, we're never going to be able to pay the kind of money that a movie can give you, or a TV series can give you.
Sure.
But we could try. You know what I'm saying? We could try. I don't think the time is anymore where it's like, well, come on on a humble. Come on. You know us. We could do this. No, that's not how Crossroads is. Crossroads is about, no, we're going to pay you the best we can because you deserve it. We want you to be able to live and work not just in the films and big theaters, but in the theaters that also celebrate you and are devoted totally to celebrating you. So we're going to give it our best shot to do the best we can for you. And I feel like if people like Ruby and Ossie pave the way, it's up to us to keep that way going.
It's so interesting and poignant what you're saying, especially in this time, because there has been a shift, and we talk about it a bit on this show, and you've touched on it a little bit earlier. That artists don't feel, actors especially, don't always feel empowered because there's somebody else to do the job. We're fighting for the job, and we just want to be seen and what have you, and so we forget that we are empowered as well. And I was reading something, I think it was in an American Theater magazine, where you were talking about, I think it was maybe just out of college, where you were in a room and the director was asking you to do very coon-like behavior, and the way that you handled that. And
it was a casting director.
That's what I was afraid of. I was hoping it wasn't. But that's what happens.
Sorry, Chico.
No, that's not right. But because it does, and that's what I do. I have it in my notes. That the things that actors, especially Black actors, are asked to do in an audition room and in a rehearsal room, and you're on the spot, and so you feel like you have to do what is being asked of you. Can you just talk a little bit about that sort of feeling of empowerment? Like, again, the Ruby Dees, the Ossie Davis, who's going, no, I ain't doing that shit, but obviously more articulate and professional than the way I just said it.
No.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking behind Ahmed, and I think I see Muhammad Ali there.
Yeah. Oh, wrong way.
That on that side. There you go.
Yeah.
it reminds me of a time when we reminded ourselves that there was a time when we were kings.
Yes.
Mm.
He gave everything up. Who would do that today? He was at the top of his game and committed himself to his name, his new name, committed himself to his new faith, committed himself against war in Vietnam and lost his belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
That must have hurt. That must have hurt. So when I think about young people today, Jacole, and I'm thinking about them hurting, I love them, I care about them, but I have to say, you don't know hurt.
Mm.
You watch your father lynched, and then you will know hurt. You watch your mother degraded, then or now, and that's when you know hurt. But more importantly, you know your mission. Because if you don't take advantage of the opportunity to fix that, then you tell me why you're here. Why are you here? To complain because you don't have a job? Seriously? Make your own job. Create your own job. Black people, you know how long it took us since integration to get to understand how we need to create our own businesses? You know? Support our own publications, the Negro newspapers, the Negro leagues. You know, when I look at the photos of the Negro leagues, baseball, and I look there, yeah, they're incredible on the field. But what I love the most is when you look in the audience and you see proud Black people dressed to the nines at a baseball game.
Yeah.
And they're dressed. Why? Because it was theirs. And I say, I don't know how to do it fully. I just feel like we all need to reteach what our own identity is, not just in terms of what we learn in a book or what we see in a film or what we feel with, with a song, but what we do about it, and own it. It's time for us. The reckoning is not, I don't look at this reckoning as something for white people. I look at this reckoning as something for Black people.
Mm.
If there was never an opportunity to turn things around and take it, it's now, like the Ruby Dee's poem that ends with "the time is now. Let's take it." It's now. It's now. Today is ours. Today is ours. That's all I want to say. And Jacole, I'm sorry, but I don't even remember your question anymore.
Well, you answered it perfectly.
I'm so sorry. You just got me off on something, but I'm telling you, today is ours. Let's take it.
Well, yeah, no, I just asked about how the theater and its mission has adapted, and that's what we've gotten to. It's ours. Let's take it, remembering that we are kings and queens, and that's what we descend from, and let's act like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also a need for us to just be honest too, and stop being so political about everything we think. As a people, we're so beautiful because of our spirit, because of our roots. And you think about the Yoruba traditions that are within us, and you think about everything else that's there, and what the drums always say, and sometimes we feel good and sometimes we don't, but like in this situation today, a lot of us don't want to get vaccinated. Well, come on now. I mean, really, I get the understanding of history, right? But you take the flu shot. So uh, there, and you go to McDonald's. What could be worse than that? I mean, seriously, you look at an egg McMuffin, or what I'm getting at is that we just have to be honest that sometimes we feel a certain thing. Sometimes we're insecure. We're not always we're always kings and queens, but we're not always behaving like royalty, and that's okay. That's okay. Just be aware of the road we have to climb. The first show that I'm doing at Crossroads at the end of September, we're planning to open a piece called "When Day Comes," and originally it was going to be another play, but I realized I don't know that we're ready for a play yet. I'm speaking about my audience, right,
Sure,
and
sure,
my
sure.
community. I just wasn't sure if come September people are going to be ready to say, okay, now I want to see a play about 1920s or the 60s. No, no, no. We just came through some shit. We came through 14 months of some stuff that we need to talk about. So the work I'm working on now and through the summer is called when day comes, when the light comes, when it comes back, and Amanda Gorman, her poem, "The Hill We
Mm,
Climb," it
mm,
starts with that, right? But I did believe, but it was about being honest and connecting to myself and people that maybe what we need is some help in reemerging, right? So I'm doing this in collaboration with Sweet Honey in the Rock. So they're going to be in it too. And they go back to the civil rights movement. They go back to, it's a women's group, the Takapela, and it's about our struggles, but also our need to be embraced and to embrace ourselves. So these are the kinds of things that we have to do also. It's not just the political fight or whatever, but we also have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our families. We have to wash our cars. you know, just normal stuff,
Yeah,
but just do it for the right reasons.
yeah.
That's all.
I I love how you said that. The reckoning. The reckoning isn't for white people; it's for us. This. And
For us,
part.
it is. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
and like part of our announcements was the San Diego Black Artists Collective. This is a group of really very talented and spirited young artists here in San Diego. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are not collected. Are not connected to Lord theaters. They're not connected to big theaters. But I feel part of and I know Jacole feels the same way, and other people who are involved. We look at us, we look at ourselves as the older of this group of young people who are putting this stuff together. But
Mm-hmm.
we look at it as if it's our responsibility as people who do work at these big theaters, and
mhm,
everything we've learned in this journey that we've gone through, and understand that this is show business, that there's a business into this.
mhm,
We
Mm-hmm.
feel it's our responsibility, as though of us being at these theaters, to make sure that we hand off this experience and what we know,
Mm-hmm.
and the pitfalls of what
Mm-hmm.
we've seen, and the reality of all this stuff to these younger
Mm-hmm.
people, not only so that they know, like I said, moving, like you said, moving it out of that political space, but like, do you really want to be an artist? Do you really want to know what it is to build your own theater? Do you really want to know what the rules are around this? Do you really want to know what it is to figure out this
Mm-hmm.
funding, and what it is to apply to be a nonprofit, and what these things are? Well, here it is, and here are the growing pains, and here are the headaches that you're going to run into, and here's what
Mm-hmm.
it is. But this is yours to have. This is your fight to
Mm-hmm.
have, like
Mm-hmm.
any other fight. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And that's how we look at this. I mean, I know both of us, we both have gotten new positions, but we're using the positions to do what we know needs to be done. We're
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
using the positions to increase that pipeline into this for the people who have
Mm-hmm.
not who have been traditionally locked out of the pipeline, because Everybody can't afford to do it for free. Everybody can't afford to do a summer in theater for free, but they have the same passion as the other person who's able to do the internship. So you know what? Let's figure out a way to pay these young people to, because I wouldn't be in theater if I had to work. I needed a job. I needed a paycheck. I wouldn't be doing this. My intro into this was that I needed a job. It wasn't, you know what I mean? And there's so many people like that. So it's like you're saying that this is for us to pass along and recognize that this is ours. This is our space. This is what we've been doing. And like you said, this is what Ruby and Ozzy and that this is what they were. And this is, I think that's what we need to understand is what was laid on the line for this. When you look at people who were kicked out of the country, blacklisted, just when you look at that, that's just in theater, what they went through to make sure that we as artists were heard. When you really get a grasp of that, you start realizing like, oh, this is along with every other aspect of the fight we've had in this nation. And like you said, in the world, it grows along with every other aspect of it.
That's right. Well, I could tell you that Ruby and Ozzy did not have to do what they did in their positions. And Ahmed Dents and Jacole Kitchen do not have to do what they're doing in your positions. And yet you do. And when you do that, number one, we owe you. We owe you gratitude for that. Though we are in different parts of the country, though we are in different types of theaters, organizations, sizes, it doesn't matter. The positions you have are not just creating pipelines, Ahmed. They are telling all these young people it is possible to work and care at the same time. More power to you both.
Yeah. Well, and in this changing landscape, and you're right there, and I think that it comes down to more people just being willing to do the work, and I don't think that either of us think of what we do as doing anything spectacular. We think, I somebody recently switched my vocabulary, that I no longer am a gatekeeper, I'm a key maker. My job is to make the keys and hand them out. And what you do with that key is up to you, but I'm gonna give you a key,
I hear you. I don't understand why the door is there in the first damn place.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I was working on this play I told you about, called Fly, about the Tuskegee Airmen. And my main consultant was Roscoe Brown, right? Roscoe was one of the original Tuskegee Airmen, and he's passed away now. But I remember asking him about why they did what they did. And in order to fly, which is something, by the way, everybody wants wanting to fly is not a black or white thing, right? It was just a beautiful thing that they felt. But at the same time, they were sent to Alabama to train Tuskegee in the worst possible way, in the worst place. And then they went off, and I remember asking him, I said, well, this country hated you. They put you through hell. Why would you go and fight for a country that was so racist? And he said, because as bad as racism was, fascism is worse. And the thing is, we have to understand as Black people that there are bigger issues in this world than just our own. We're connected to them all. And another time I asked him, well, what happened when you reached the mountaintop? What did you see then? And he said, I just saw another mountain to climb. They were not people trying to be heroes. And that's what you two are saying. You're not there to be heroes. You're not there to be gatekeepers. You're there to do the best you can do. That's what it is. And that's the best we can ask for you to be. And if you do that, you're doing right by all of us.
And just kind of as a general, how do we create safer spaces for Black people? I was actually the question that I had written down was how do you do that at Crossroads? But just I think that I feel like opening it up to just a more general question. What I mean, it feels so simple, like make a safe space for Black people. But like,
Listen,
how do you make sure that you create that space, and how can we make sure that that's happening everywhere?
well, part of it is going back to Du Bois, right? Um, for Black people, by Black people, and near Black people. There's something to be said about the embrace of your community. If there was a way for you to create the environment that made Black artists feel when they walked in the rehearsal hall that it was theirs and not visitors, be a whole different thing. And I say that also in relation to audience development. People who want to diversify their audiences. And they know it's the right thing to do, but at the same time, why would you possibly expect Black or brown people to come into a lobby that has nothing to do with celebrating who you are, except for maybe 1 month a year? And, you know, there are better ways to do it. And my way of doing it is to create my own house, just like, you know, Shirley Chisholm when she talked about if there's not a chair there at the table, you bring your own chair.
Mm-hmm.
I bring my own room. And I say, more power to you at your table, but I got a room here and I got my table too. Imagine what could happen if we worked together. It's almost like the difference between holding an umbrella up to shelter Black and brown people and women versus letting them hold the umbrella too. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. But it takes, I think it takes people who are accustomed to white establishments understanding that they need to change. They need to let go of some of that as well, for real, not just for one or two positions, but for real. You know, I've been in situations where I've directed plays and you know, plays that we've created at Crossroads, and then we would take it to New York or wherever. And first day of rehearsal, the door opens, and you know, you have the meet and greet, but they're all white people. And you're sitting at a table and you're looking up and you're surrounded by 40 white people. And you're saying, and this is your staff?
Yeah.
Could you not find one? Not one? How about 10? How about 20? How about America? That's the work that has to be done, but it has to be done. It has to be done. But I have other work to do.
Yeah, yeah. I want to take you back. I want to talk about two particular performances that are on my mind today. I want to take you back a little bit to when you worked with Sam here with
who?
But the Blues.
Oh, with Sam.
Yeah. And I
Yes.
wanted to go back to actually working on that particular show, you know, and just to get a little bit of your thoughts on that show and then watching that show go off, you know, to Broadway.
I loved it. You know, we did that show. You know, the blues is inherently American.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And Sam understood that, and it was not just something he thought was cool, because Sam is cool, but it was more like he understood the importance of that, the importance of the blues. We did that with San Diego Rep, but also with Alabama Shakespeare Festival. And then when it got to Crossroads, the Ron Taylor was the creator of it, and Ron had more, felt that he had more work to do with it, and he felt like he could do it at Crossroads. And we did it, and then we went to New York, and it was Crossroads and Alabama and San Diego, and we did it together, and it was quite a beautiful thing. But you have to understand, this is new to us too. I mean, it's not like Crossroads was doing Broadway show every month. You know, this is like, yeah, this was we were partying, and don't think that Sam was not partying. Okay, just,
Oh,
I'm
please.
just saying.
Oh,
I'm just
please.
saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I don't think any one of us is that delusional.
Oh my goodness! And I go back to Des McAnuff too, by the way. But and that goes back. But I think that I think that was a time, maybe towards the end of it, when many theaters were working together to create the show. Like it one show, and then it went to the next, and then went to the next, and that was an example of that time. It didn't just start on Broadway. It took years of theater companies like ours committing to the development of a work, and having the courage to say, it's not ready, it's not perfect yet, but we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's really special, and it's especially special for a black artist like Ron Taylor, that he had the opportunity to do that. And I think San Diego Rep actually started that movement, is what I remember. I mean, that movement for that play, for the
Sure, sure, sure.
development of the leg of that play. So that
Oh
was
yeah,
that
they
was
didn't
pretty
start
cool.
the movement. They just started the movement with that show.
Yeah. I mean, another one of my favorite times was when August Wilson came to Crossroads to work on Jitney, right?
Mm,
And he was with us for a month, right?
wow.
But he had not been, aside from Penumbra, for example, and that was before he was August Wilson, right? He was relying on Yale Rep and Seattle and the Goodman. He was relying on this whole group that worked to support his work until it got to New York. And what was really special about Jitney was that he included Crossroads in a black theater in on the development of his work. And I just think no matter what ethnicity you are, if your theater company's working together, you got one thing in common, and that's your love for theater. And we all have that. And if we have the opportunity to work on it in a way that continues the development of an artist's dream, then, that's really cool. And that's what we did with San Diego Rep.
I also
That's
want to
awesome.
ask you about the gala that you had recently at Crossroads, in honor of Cicely Tyson.
Oh yeah,
Can you
yeah,
talk to me a little
yeah.
bit about that event and what it meant, and what was what was the thinking in honoring? I mean, I know what the thinking was.
Well, we were
A little bit
see, we were going to honor her. We were going to honor her at that event, and then she passed away.
Mm,
So she was going to be part of that, was our goal, and then she passed away. So it was very special because we had already committed to giving honor to somebody who was a living legend, a living legend. And I had seen her on Broadway in A Trip to Bountiful, and I remember her singing Blessed Assurance in that play on stage, and just seeing nothing but joy, pure joy. And it happened that when I went to Broadway to see that, it was a Wednesday matinee. And I'm thinking, oh God, I hope she's in it. I hope she is in it. Because sometimes Wednesday matinees, but Wednesday matinees, there's always a lot of older people. And it couldn't have been better because they all sang Blessed Assurance right along with her. So to me, is like to see that and to experience that was wonderful. So Anika Noni Rose we had as the host for that event. It turned out that putting it together was something I never did anything like that before. But I loved it because I learned so much in doing it. And one of the challenges was, how do I get it to look like Anika is the host here in New Brunswick at our theater, where we also have Guy Davis performing and all this other stuff. And then comes Ren Brown. Now, you guys know Ren Brown.
Oh, I know Ren Brown, yeah.
So Ren Brown says, well, you could use my theater. And the wild thing was, because Anika was there, Anika in that theater, in Ebony Repertory Theater, it looked like she was really over here at Crossroads with Guy Davis. And it was beautiful. But the best part was that we did it together. There was so much cooperation done to make that particular piece happen that also included Blair Underwood and Regina Taylor and God, so many, Al Roker and Lenny Kravitz and but at the same time, and here's where COVID comes in. I was feeling like if we had any theme at all, let it be about family, because that's what we're missing. So the family of Crossroads is now stretched out all over the place, and I wanted to bring them back for this Zoom wise. So we created it as like house parties. So we had a house party with folks from the Market Theater in Johannesburg, and we had a house party from Pasadena Playhouse, where one of my stage managers was there with his parents, and from the Duke Ellington School of the Arts in DC, and from the Wilma Theater in Philadelphia, from Sarasota, Florida. All these places where people who were trained at Crossroads now have positions like you all have now. It was like, okay, folks, let's do a house party. And we did, and they all connected to Anika, and it was really great. But most importantly, it was about remembering this amazing talent, Sounder. Oh boy, that movie, everything she did. And just like a lot of people of her generation, she didn't accept just anything, any role, She was very keen on what that meant and said about Black people and about women, and made a huge difference because of it.
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite Cicely Tyson roles from when I was a kid. I remember was her and Richard Pryor and Bustin' Loose. Man, that was but even in that, being opposite Richard Pryor, the character of the woman that she played, in taking care of these kids and not taking any shit off of Richard Pryor or her other man who she thought was so responsible, but he turned out being just the role that she played and not taking no mess.
That's right.
I just remember as a kid being like, who is that dark lady?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Who is that lady?
It's such a good point. Like, again, talking about experiencing that as a child, Ahmed, and being exposed to this beautiful dark-skinned woman on film when you were a child. And Ricardo, I've seen where you talked about your early experience. Your first show was an all-black Hello Dolly.
Yes, Pearl Bailey and Cab Calloway. That's right.
Yes. And talking about how
I was not in it, Jaco. I was watching.
No, you were trying. I know.
Oh yeah. All right. I just want.
All right.
I know the songs. But
But no, but it was that you went with the Jack and Jill organization. It was Jack and
Yeah,
Jill that brought a group of Black students to see this Black play.
that's right.
And just
That's right.
talking about like that, continuing the generations. We keep talking about theater's going to die because there's only old people that go to it. But like that need for keeping the generations involved in this. And I mean, I have so many questions even surrounding that. But I guess my two questions are like, what do you say to that? Like, how do we keep young people engaged and involved in theater so that this is something that goes on for the generations? But I also wondered, with that being your first experience with theater, an all Black cast, when was the next time? Like, how long was it again until you saw a piece of theater with an all Black cast?
Yeah, the first time, the first thing I told you guys today was going back to my beginning, my parents. That's the first thing. Parents. That's what got me to Hello Dolly. Parents. That's what we need, Jacole. We need our parents to care enough, as hard as their days might be. We need that again. We need that as a community again. When we didn't have everything, when we didn't have our opportunities, what did we say? Each one reach one. We said each one teach one. We said lifting as we climb. We believed we were still in the climb, but we also believed that as we climbed, we must reach back too. That cannot be put in the hands of children. Can only put in the hands of the parents, the adults. We as adults must take that responsibility back again. We have to. So that first play that I saw was it was mothers taking us, but the next one, it was probably mothers too. It was probably mothers too. And I will tell you that I remember one time my father, years and years later, maybe before I left Crossroads, he gave me this gift, and he had done this wooden mobile, and wrote on every single piece, every show I ever directed or produced. And I still have it up. And
Wow.
Sometimes, we'll think, well, wow, I didn't know you were there. But he was. I knew he was there all the time, but I'm just saying that it takes the adults to make this happen. Don't put it on the kids. Don't put it all on them. Don't put it all on them. We're of a generation that remembers the role that the revolution played in our art. That doesn't mean they do. We know what the civil rights movement meant in order to create a Gil Scott-Heron, that in turn created Last Poets, that in turn created hip hop, and that came back from bebop. I mean, we know that. We know that. That doesn't mean they do. Ahmed, you got Coltrane behind you there. Coltrane was not favored.
Right.
Bebop was not. It was like, what? Right. But somebody had to embrace him, to say, okay. And that's our job. That's our job. The kids' job is to make change. Our job is to embrace them. To let them know they have that right to do that, but they also have that responsibility to do that. And that's that's the lifting as we climbed. Give them that chance that we got too. Don't break that chain. And I think somewhere along the way we broke the chain. Somewhere along the way we thought we were there. We had made it. And so we celebrated.
It's so funny how you say it's on the parents, because I remember being 12, think it was 12 or 13, and my mom and dad taking me to see Porgy and Bess. And
Mm.
then growing up, my dad worked just right across the street here at the Spreckles Theater. He was head of security for 40 plus years. And
Mm.
so from junior high through high school into my adult life was literally watching him expand his personal values into what it was to make sure that a venue was safe and secure for all the people who walked through those lobby doors and got to their seats. It was just an extension of his values that made him bump heads with people, because his values of what he learned and coming up through the South and through the Navy and taking care of his family extended to every person, whether there was a show or it's just during office hours, extended to the safety and security of every person that walked through those lobby doors.
God bless him, man.
You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
I look at how much that rubbed off on me and all the administrative work I've done over the years. It was just his values. And I grew up watching this man at work every day, be this just unsung hero for almost half a century in downtown San Diego. And all he cared about was the safety and security of everybody who was on that block and walked through those theater doors. And it's just like you're saying, like, it's just that chain, like this, that was what, until recently, I didn't really realize that was my entry into this. That was my grooming into this business. That's where my love for this, business came from. It came from that aspect of just watching my dad work this thing all the way. Then, my mom taking me to Ebony Fashion Fair shows and this and that, just that whole.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I was a kid. My mom was dragging me along to the old. People don't even remember the Ebony Fashion Fair. I used to go on tour across the country. Every time I came to San Diego, here's my mom dragging me down here to the Convention Center to watch it. You know what I mean? So it's just actually what you're saying. Just this, it's on us to pass that along. Like with Jacole directing, Pick Me Last. This is a thing that's geared towards the younger people. It's geared to catch the younger people so that they understand it. They can see themselves. And
that's right.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's also in what you do. You're singing your parents' song. When you talk about your father unsung, no, sir, he's being sung quite well right now. And that's what we have to realize. We have that opportunity to do that for our ancestors, so the people who made it possible, sing their song and trust that the young folks coming up behind us will hear it, maybe even dance to it, but we got to figure out how to bring that chain back, because I think there's something that's been lost. I think about, look, people who are in their 80s right now, they have the best, I'm talking about Black people, they have the best articulation and grammar and ability to communicate than any of us do. Why is that? Because they knew it mattered. They knew it mattered. They were all about trying to better themselves. And that's what they did. They learned how to better themselves. It didn't mean that they couldn't be bilingual, right? But let's be best at both. Let's be best at both. And I feel like we're losing things like that. I have a real big problem, especially in the theater, with actors who don't have a command for articulation. How does that? And don't then blame the UK because all the good Black actors are coming from there. No, it's about training. It's basic. It's training. It's basic, and it was basic for our parents and grandparents. Why can't it be for us, especially in the theater? Especially in the theater. Why have we just all of a sudden not worried about that anymore? I don't know why, and that's why I'm saying the conversation that needs to be had, the reckoning, it's between us. Let's get real, guys. Let's get real. I don't mean that we can't continue to do the electric slide. Yeah, let's do that. But then at the end of when it's done, let's sit down and talk and let's get real. But don't blame white people. Don't blame other folks, you know. And I know that there people that don't like me saying this, but I love the We See You movement. I know what it's all about, and I praise young people for leading that, because it is so important. But I don't see them because I don't look.
That's Margot Hall said the same thing to us ago.
Is that right?
Yes, she did.
Yeah,
I did the same thing to us.
Who was that?
Margot Hall.
From, Margot Hall. Okay,
all right. It was 2 weeks ago.
Seriously, I don't have time to look, guys. We got work, but we all have our own work to do. Is what I'm saying. We all do. So so God bless everybody in terms of what they're doing. But at the end of the day, at some point, we're gonna have to get together, and we're gonna have to get real about stuff. Because our politicians are doing the best they can, but they're still politicians. We, on the other hand, are artists. We can make a difference. You know, when in the civil rights movement, Bobby Kennedy and John Kennedy were trying to figure it all out. They brought Baldwin in. They brought everybody. They brought the artists in to talk. And it was a famous conversation you guys probably know. And the head person in that conversation was Lorraine Hansberry, right? I mean, we have that ability. We have a transformative power. Let's use it. Let's use it. So yeah, we all have our work to do, but let's carve some time out to be talking amongst each other in an honest way and saying, look, we got our work to do too.
That's right.
And I know we need to wrap up here soon, and you're on the East Coast, Ricardo. So God bless you. Thank you for sticking with us. I know it's late there, but you're talking about training and whatnot. So I just had to throw this in. You had mentioned earlier that you said Crossroads got on the map because George C. Wolfe in the Colored Museum. When I was in college, I think I was maybe a junior or senior in college when I discovered the Colored Museum. And I used to do the permutations monologue, Normal Gene. And let me tell you, University of Kansas, KU, they didn't know what to do with me. KU Theater did not know what to do with me. Coming in with these audition monologues from Colored Museum, like,
and this big egg.
Right? So I'm in my apartment. I'm in my basement apartment in Lawrence, Kansas, and I'm practicing, right? And she talks about the egg and giving birth to this egg. And she says that I was howling like a near-dead dog. And screaming. So I was practicing. I'm practicing over and over. Suddenly I get a knock at my door. I open the door. There's 2 policemen standing there because somebody in my complex called the police because there was somebody screaming like she was being tortured in the apartment. And I'm like, no, I'm here by myself. They're like, do you mind if we come and look around? Like, ma'am, are you sure you're okay? Can we look inside? And I go, oh, I'm an actor. I'm a theater major. And I showed them my piece of paper and they were like, oh, keep it down. If you don't mind keeping it down. I'm like, no, I'm not going to keep it down. I'm a method actor. But but it was...
That's a beauty. That's a beauty of our industry is that we could say that and that'll shut any cop down. Because they say, okay, you got bigger problems if you're an actor. So.
Exactly. I'm a theater major.
I'm a theater major.
You're fine.
You guys are wonderful. I do want to say that I really am proud of what you're doing, both of you. And if ever there's anything I could do to help or anything we can do to work together or just talk, let's do it. This has been an honor for me to reconnect because I've been away for so long. So I'm just coming back now, and I thank you for the welcome.
Thank you.
We had said offline when we were talking offline before the show, Ricardo, you had mentioned that you hadn't been able to work with the Playhouse yet. And I said, well, let's do something about that.
Right.
And, I'm sitting here and I'm listening and I'm going, we need to do something about that. We need to have a partnership, and not because the Playhouse has something to offer you. You have something to offer the Playhouse greatly. Right. And we need to partner. We need to get on that. So let's keep in touch and see what we can do together.
You know where I am.
Yes, sir.
You know where I am. Thank you. You know where to find me. And I hope to welcome you both to the festival in September. Yeah, yes. We're doing. I told you about the one with Sweet Honey in the Rock, but at the same time we're doing Daniel Coabady. He's come back from Accra and he's doing his one-man piece called Emergency. And I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but he does like 70 roles in it. And when he did it first at the Public years ago, Ruby D and Ossie, they went crazy, and Harry Belafonte, and they're saying this guy is amazing. But it's about what happens when a ghost slave ship rises in the Hudson today, and what do they see? So I hope I get you guys here, and I look forward to coming to what you guys are doing as well. It's very exciting.
We'll be here. We will both definitely stay in touch. Before we let you go, Ricardo, I just want to remind everybody in the next couple of weeks. Next week we'll have Rich Sublet and Alicia Gray. Not next week, in 2 weeks, on the 24th, they will be joining us on We Are Listening, and then after that we will be joined by Mickey Vale of Soul Kiss Theater.
All right,
Diego, and hopefully I'm efforting to have.
No, you did that one already.
Yeah, we did. We're just wrapping up, y'all. But please,
that's the best one.
Head over to sdrep.org/listening to sign up. Remember, you can watch a replay of this on the Reps Facebook page and on the Reps YouTube page, the Playhouse's YouTube page, and the Globe's YouTube page. And you can also listen to these in podcast form on Spotify by searching San Diego Repertory Theater. And please, please, please make sure you head on over to crossroadstheatercompany.org. Check out everything that's going on over there, everything that Ricardo is working on. Ricardo,
yes.
It's such a pleasure and an honor to have
you
tonight. Thank you so much, sir. We know it is late. It is 10 o'clock where you're at, so we're going to let you go.
It's all right.
But brother, thank you so much for we just gonna start calling this master class. How about we just start calling this?
I've been literally saying the same thing. I was gonna text you. That's literally what I was gonna text you after this.
We're just gonna start calling this master class.
Go for it.
That's what you gave us tonight, man.
Thank you.
We just so appreciate you. We appreciate everything you've done, and like what you were saying to what we're doing. That's what you have done for us. That's what you have done for us. That's why we are asking the questions, so that we know what we're doing here in the present, and we can pass that on to those who are coming up after us and work with us. So we thank you so much for being with us tonight. It's greatly appreciated.
Amen.
Jacole, I will talk to you soon. I'll talk to you later on. Everybody listening, make sure you come back and join us in 2 weeks. We Are Listening. And remember, we are kicking off on the 13th on Sunday. The San Diego Black Artists Collective Juneteenth Festival kicks off with the opening ceremonies at the New Village Theater Arts Flower Fields. It is a celebration with the Buffalo Soldiers. So please make sure you check that out. Head on over to sdrep.org for more details. I know it's linked off of LaJollaPlayhouse.org. I know it's linked off of oldglobe.org, but it'll be really great if you visit sdblackartistcollective.com and check out the whole list of events there. And that'll do it. We'll wrap it up. Jacole, have a good night. I'll talk to you later on.
All right. Everybody, thanks for listening.
Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you later.